Good evening, Steeler fans. Welcome to another Wednesday night here on the Steel Curtain Network. If it's Wednesday night, you know it's time for the Curtain Call podcast. I'm Geoffrey Benedict. Here with me, as always, Shannon White. Shannon, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm just excited to have a real-life Viking on the podcast tonight. I love it. We was just talking before the podcast that he was going to put some beads in his beard. I'd have loved that. Because, we love beards around here, Dave.
Yeah, it's the only way to go. My grandfather told me a long time ago, if you can't grow it on top, grow it on the bottom.
Yeah, it's true. I'm getting there. I need it down here now.
I have to grow it a little longer. I'm losing all mine. Anyways, here with us to talk about Patrick Peterson, the Steelers' free agent signing, is Dave from the Vikings podcast, First and Skol. Dave, how are you doing?
I am doing great. It's been an absolutely busy week. We've been going nuts in the free agency as well as you guys, and it's been crazy.
Well, we'll get right into it. Patrick Peterson signed with the Vikings in 2021. Was there again last season. What role did he play in the Vikings defense? Was he the number one cornerback? Was he your number two cornerback? Did it switch between seasons or?
No, he was CB1 both years. It was he was an outstanding addition to the team. Now, he's obviously on his way to Canton. He is that quality of a cornerback. He has, because he's older, he slipped a little bit. He's not good in man coverage as he was, but the man is brilliant when it comes to zone now and reading an offense. And we get into some of the things that he's very, very good about, and I'm jealous. I wish we had him back.
Yeah, when the Steelers, we all thought all along that the Steelers were going to re-sign Cameron Sutton. I thought the deal was, I predicted 3 years, $33 million, and that's what he got. But I'm sure the guaranteed money, because the Steelers are notorious for, they don't go all in on the guarantees as much as other teams, and that costs them sometimes. But I thought to get Peterson was a great addition because of his experience. And in a secondary with Minkah Fitzpatrick, there's a lot they can do there. Because as you said, Peterson isn't the man cover guy that he used to be. He's still crafty. And I think he still runs good. I think he can still probably outrun Sutton.
Oh, he's still top 10 corner in the league.
But he, I noticed that PFF scored him higher, his coverage grade, than Sutton, who, if you listen to Steeler fans, Sutton was Mel Blount 2.0. Now that he's somewhere else.
There's a name for you.
Exactly. So, but it seemed like that Peterson really offered a lot to the Vikings secondary as far as leadership. In communication. Is that what you think is going to be the biggest loss
yes.
of not being able to retain him?
Yes. Let me tell you a story about Patrick Peterson. He comes to the team, and the Vikings, after 2000, 3 years ago, gut everybody in the secondary. Absolutely got him. We start drafting guys, and we draft corner after corner after corner in the first round, and we lose them to broken legs, injuries. One passed away, unfortunately, and they just don't seem to work out. Patrick Peterson was brought in, and we've got a couple of young guys, and a Caleb Evans, and we had who I call Tiny Dantzler, Cameron Dantzler, and Booth. He would take those guys every week to his house. They would barbecue stuff up and have a good time, and he would teach them how to watch film, how to look for tendencies, how to read the offense and know what's coming before the offense does. And last season, there was 2 interceptions he had where he said, I knew exactly where the ball was going, because I knew where the receivers were running. And he was teaching that to our young guys. You can't ask for anything more. And he did it on his own. It was, hey, we did all the work at, Egan at our training facility. Now, guys, You're going to come to my house and we're going to get into this further. We're going to be the best there is. And all that experience and all that knowledge is now lost. That's why I'm going to miss him. I wish he had stayed with the Vikings. They just couldn't agree on a contract format. And it's your game. By far, it's your game. The man is brilliant, and he takes these guys under his wings. He's not a glory hog, and he will impart as much knowledge as possible, and your secondary will get much, much better because of it.
That's actually what I wanted to ask is, was his impact on the younger players noticeable, or do you think that's something that maybe pays dividends years down the road but hasn't yet?
Some of it was noticeable, and more of it will be down the road type stuff. We had a bad defensive secondary last year. We had a bad defense last year. Part of that was because we had Ed Donatel as our defensive coordinator, and he was stuck in his system, and he wanted guys to play his system, and it was sort of a square peg round hole thing, and it was asinine the way he called defensive plays. But what he did with those corners was great, and he loved playing with Harrison Hitman Smith, right, who hopefully we retain. We still have a couple days to make that choice. And those two working together, they were a brain trust that could literally look at a lineup and go, that guy's going here, that guy's going there. We need to cover this way and cover that way. It's just they were reined in by Ed Donatel, and thank God we got rid of him, and we picked up Brian Flores from you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to miss Flores. He was basically the pass rush coordinator last year.
Mm-hmm.
After Keith Butler, who was specialized in that for years. We're really not sure who's going to do it this year, so that's still an unanswered question for the Steelers. But I had to ask this question because the Steelers are in desperate need of an inside linebacker up till today, and they finally made a signing. Okay. Wasn't anybody that we were all talking about, because we mentioned everybody. One name that kept coming up was Kendricks.
Right.
I was just interested, since we have you on the show, what is your opinion of Kendricks? Why do you think that the Vikings decided to, make the move they did? And what was it about his game or performance that caused that to happen?
All right. First off, Eric Kendricks as a man is a wonderful individual, great leader. He has what he did for Minnesota, especially after all the riots, was fantastic. When we signed him, when we drafted him, the big thing about Eric Kendricks was his speed and ability to cover anybody. He could cover a wide receiver. Mm-hmm. Tight ends were piece of cake, but his speed, his lateral movement, sideline to sideline, was just off the charts. There was if somebody tried to run a screen or something, he was shutting it down within 2 yards of the line of scrimmage. Well, he's over that hill, and between the combination of Ed Donatel calling absolutely, it still pisses me off, bad defense, and we still won 13 games last year.
Yeah.
Much of them by one score, but 13 games.
Yeah.
But that bad defense, it didn't play to his strengths, but you saw where he's slowing down just a bit, and you could see where age is catching up with him, and it would have been hard for him to adjust, I think, to the Flores style. I think it would have been good mentally in the way he plays his game. It would have been fine. It's just, I think he's a tick slower than he used to be, and the amount of money he was due to make versus what we're getting, it wasn't worth it. And we have Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, our new GM, has a plan, and that plan is real simple. We're going to get our money situation right because we got to pay in a ton of dead cap. We were over the cap prior to today. We're going to get that right, and everything is gearing for 2024. The guys we brought in were all 26 and 27 years old. He has a type that he wants, right? Mm-hmm. And they were all with high upside, but never lived up to that. Two of the players is due to injuries. And what they want to do is basically give them, and they structured the contracts that they were relatively inexpensive and it's basically a 1 year out. You're gonna audition, right? And we're still going to be, like I said, we're going to be a good football team. I anticipate that we win the NFC North, especially with all the fiasco that's going on in Green Bay, which I love to no end. And but there wasn't the spot for Kendricks anymore on the team. We have a new young rookie, Brian Asamoah from Oklahoma last year. He's got that speed, and he's a missile when he sees running back come through the hole. He's going to be used more that way, and so we didn't need him. We kept Jordan Hicks, which I was sort of disappointed in, but he's their guy. We brought him in last year. We need linebacker help too. I could use some more linebacker help, but Kendricks was too expensive, and the payoff wouldn't have been there, so we got rid of him.
You were talking about the chaos in Green Bay. I found it interesting that the last two quarterbacks of the Green Bay Packers both won a Super Bowl when they were 27, and now both are going to go to the Jets when they're 39 years old. Are you expecting to see Aaron Rodgers on the Vikings?
God, I hope not. We've joked about it for years now.
Yeah.
Right? Just to get their goat, we've joked about it for years. But no, I hope not. That man is one unique individual.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. I had to ask that because it's just crazy to see him same age.
Right, and he said he'd never do what Favre did.
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
Yeah.
He's doing that and more.
Yeah.
And he's following the same roadmap. Off to the Jets, and then next year he'll retire, and then he'll come back, and he'll want to play for the Vikings, and we'll need a quarterback because Kirk Cousins won't be on the team any longer. It's just
what would really be hilarious is if he went to the Bears.
Oh, he'd go to the Bears.
And then they paid him $60 million, and he could say, "I really do own you now."
Yes, that would be funny.
Because that's the whole thing. He owns the Bears,
That would be funny.
Oh my goodness.
But how do you guys think you're going to do in the division this year? You got Cincinnati. That's awful rough, and you always had Baltimore. That I love watching those games.
That was one of my key questions about Patrick Peterson, because the 2021 season, first game of the year, you guys faced the Cincinnati Bengals, and you got Rashad Breeland on one side, you've got Patrick Peterson on the other side. And watching the tape on that was like whoever Patrick Peterson was on, whether it was Higgins or Chase, completely shut down, and they just went straight at Breeland on the other side. Is Patrick Peterson a guy who can, with help, because the Steelers don't put anyone really on an island, Kenny, if he's got some deep help, is he a guy who can stay with Ja'Marr Chase?
Yeah, he's smart enough. He's smart enough to know the angles and how far back he needs to be. And he, like I said, he reads routes, right? If you line up a certain way and the formation's a certain way, and he sees that Ja'Marr Chase is going to streak down the sideline on a go route, he's going to slightly back up, and he'll position himself to stay there with him. And he's brilliant when the ball's in the air. Right? Yeah. Because he can time that just right to hands up, interfere, do whatever to not get called. He's real smart on that. And deflect it. That's why if you look over both his years, he was CB1. They rarely threw to his side, right? Because they picked on the other guys. Defensive backfield is a weak link system, right? If any offensive coordinator is worth his salt, he's going for the weak link. Mm-hmm. And when you're talking about that game, it was Rashad Breeland. Anyways.
He didn't have a good game. We can say that. He didn't have a good game that day.
But you are going to enjoy having him there, and for at least bringing up the level of the rest of the secondary.
Well, I'm gonna because you asked me where the Steelers are how they're gonna do. And that's my main question, because this year we had that we shocked them in the first game when they were not at all ready. You could tell they hadn't played together, didn't do preseason. We had a great game plan that game to really just take a win from the Bengals. But the second time we faced them, it wasn't that big of a loss. Like, we made it one score at the end, but it was a 2-score game. And really the thing is, we had no one that could cover Ja'Marr Chase or T. Higgins. And so, we could kind of, double team and bracket one of them, but the other guy was still going to win his matchups, and it was ugly. It was super ugly all game. And if Patrick Peterson is a guy that we can put out on Jamar Chase and with minor amounts of help, not huge amounts of help, limit him, then I think
and he will for most of the game. You may have the one off, two off type deal. Every defensive backfield player does those, but for the most part, you're going to limit him.
Yeah, that's really what we need is someone who can hang with Jamar Chase and not let him just run wild on us.
Like I said, smartest cornerback I've ever seen, and I've seen a bunch of good cornerbacks play.
Well, that's what we had with Joe Hayden. When Joe Hayden came to the Steelers, he wasn't the same player. I think Patrick Peterson has more in his tank than Joe Hayden did the last couple of seasons he was here, and he did perfectly fine in this defense.
Now, if you want to listen to Patrick Peterson, he has a podcast with I'm trying to remember the name of it off the top of my head. It's a ex-Steeler.
Brian McFadden.
Yes. And I highly encourage fans to listen to it. It's great. He tells it like it is, and it's a wonderful show. He's going to be missed by Vikings fans, and I think you guys are going to love having him.
When the Steelers, started being reported that they signed him, the first thing that came to my mind was the Steelers are looking, we have to believe, at a first-round corner. And there's Joey Porter Jr. out there with Penn State. And, the namesake and the lineage. And everybody's talking about him. Well, he's a bigger corner like Peterson, above average speed, a lot of similarities. You immediately think mentor. And then with the story you told about him to start off the show, about how he took the young guys, under his wing, it sounds even like a better deal. Because he's almost like another coach.
He is.
On
he
the
literally
field.
Is.
And that can be so invaluable regardless of who the Steelers get at corner. The Steelers are notorious for little corners. So I'm thinking they're wanting to kind of go away from that. And Peterson is the first sign of that, in my opinion.
Well, Banks is my draft crush because we're probably in that corner market as well during the draft. And so we're a little bit further down than you guys, but we'll see.
Yeah, Banks is impressive. Yeah.
We got a super chat here with a question for you, Dave. Asking why the Vikings waive Dantzler. Wasn't he good?
Dantzler flashed. Cameron at times looked brilliant, and at other times he got lost. And that's the reason why, is because he would have mental lapses or whatever you want to call it, where he would either guess and think the wide receiver was going this way and the wide receiver went that way and left too many wide receivers wide open. Other times he was brilliant. It's his swings were just so out of bounds. It was, I don't know. It's because the talent is there. The physical capability is there. It's just nobody could ever put it together with him. Patrick Peterson worked with him tremendously. And a lot of his games, if you look at Dantzler's games on PFF, not that PFF is the end-all be-all, but they do give us individual grades, and you can evaluate them off of those. They were up and down. One day he would be the best-ranked corner in the league. And then the next week, he was in the 50s. And it's just like, Ed Donatel was part of that. But and Mike Zimmer before that, because Mike Zimmer could get into a player's head like nobody's business and ruin them mentally, especially kickers, but corners in particular, because that was his love. And Dantzler never recovered. He needs that nice, I don't know if he's going to get it in Washington, but that nice loving embrace and somebody to say, take him down and go. And he could become a very good corner for somebody. He's just got it's the mental part of it. Every once in a while, he would skip like an old LP record. You'd hear, and he was off.
I had a question. That super chat made me think of it. I've seen they were talking on the NFL Network today about the Vikings potentially moving on from Dalvin Cook some way.
That's a possibility.
I mean, is that a cap move, or is it? I mean, because obviously he's been a very effective player for the Vikings, and I don't see him losing a step. So, is it just is it his hit this year?
No, we're under the cap now, so we could keep. There's three of the old time players: Zadarius Smith, Dalvin Cook, and Harrison Smith. We could keep all three of them. There was trade rumors originally with Dalvin Cook to Miami. They were looking to get rid of Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook makes a lot of money. I think it's $14 million this year. He's one of your higher paid backs. I think he may be now the highest with Ezekiel Elliott being released today. And the question is he worth it? He seemed to he had 2 breakout runs last season. That's abnormal for him. Normally, the whole big deal with Dalvin Cook was at any time, at any place, anywhere on the field, he could break it, right? And he could go to the house. Last year, it only happened twice. His production per gain was lower than normal. He only averaged 4.4 yards per carry. That's low for him. He's normally up in that 5 to 6 range or better. And they were like, well, we've got some good rookie Ty Chandler from last year. It looks like he could be able to step in. We don't value running backs as much. We valued the running game, but not running backs. And so it was possible that they move on. Friday's the deadline on those 3 guys. They all have guaranteed money by 3 o'clock on Friday, 3 o'clock Central, that has to be due them. If they keep them, they get the money we're going to have them for a year. If not, they might move them, and it might be a money deal. Like I said, we're trying to fix the books because we've been kicking the can on a bunch of contracts, thanks to one particular quarterback down the road and playing. And then the previous regime with Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer, they wanted to keep their players, and they kept moving it down, and everything got more and more expensive.
Yeah. I want to ask about Justin Jefferson, because the Vikings have had a lot of really, really good wide receivers over the years. Where would you rank him in the great Vikings receivers?
He's going to be number 1.
Wow.
When it's all said and done, he's going to be number 1. Now, in the Mount Rushmore of wide receivers, he will be number 1. Justin Jefferson by far is ahead of everybody else. Randy Moss is there. Chris Carter is obviously there. Randy Moss, Hall of Famer. Chris Carter, Hall of Famer. And then when we discuss the 4th one, that's what you're going to get into a debate.
Yeah.
But no, with that, he's as good as Randy Moss, if not better. And that hurts me to say, because Randy was so good for Minnesota.
Yeah, he was playing a different game than everyone else.
He changed the game of football.
Yeah. And then you got Justin Jefferson, who really, for what he's doing, like, he doesn't get talked about. And then you look at the numbers and you're like, holy crap.
He led the league.
Jefferson. And then you watch the film and he's insane.
Well, he is insane. He had, 1,400 yards first season as a rookie, and he missed the first 2 games, 1,600 the next, 1,800 this one, and he should have had closer. He will be the first wide receiver to break 2,000.
Wow.
He's unbelievable. The man
with Kirk Cousins throwing him the ball.
With Kirk Cousins throwing him the football. And this will probably be the last year of Kirk Cousins. Just to give your viewers a heads up.
All right, we got an interesting little super chat here for you. I don't know how much you follow the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they're exempting TJ Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick and asking, what Steeler would you take from our roster other than TJ and Minkah?
I don't know your roster that well off the top of my head.
I was going to say they took away the main targets there.
Yeah, and TJ Watt would be sweet.
We used to ask that question on this show for like every week we'd have we were during the season we're called Know Your Enemy, and we talked to the teams we're facing, and we'd ask it, and every week they were like, "Well, TJ, what?" like it's easy.
Well, and if we schedule it during the season, we're talking, I will do the appropriate prep and make sure I know who the right answer is. But
well,
I don't.
If you want an edge rusher, you can always take his partner in crime, Alex Highsmith, with his 14.5 sacks.
Which is a sweet number. What we need though is a interior defensive lineman. We have Harrison Phillips, which is good against the run, but we'd like one that's available, good at pass rushing as well.
Yeah.
There's of course corners. I wanted Patrick Peterson. I told you that from the beginning.
Well, that could be your answer. He's a Steeler now. You can take him back.
But and on the offensive side, I can't think of anybody on your team that I absolutely got to have, because my offense is pretty good.
Yeah, we're super young. We got a lot of potential, but not a lot proven.
We were top 10 offense last year, so I'm not worried about that.
I just got to say thank you for Mason Cole, because I know he was an afterthought with you guys, but for the Steelers, he was a godsend, and he solidified the center position. And we're so happy to have him.
And we just re-signed ours.
Yeah,
like that level of confidence he brought was something we had been lacking for a while. It was.
That's good.
Man, it had gotten bad around here. It had gotten bad here,
really bad.
Well, hey, we re-signed ours, Garrett Bradbury, today. His first 3 years in the league, he was horrible. He gets forklifted back in a cousin's lap all the time. Last year, though, he was number 10 on PFF's list. He had a decent season until he got hurt late in the season. I hope he continues to improve. We gave him a reasonable contract. They evaluated him at about $12 million per. We gave him, I think, 3.5. So, I'm cool with that. My offensive line, even though we got young guards and young tackles, my tackles are fantastic. You ain't getting those. Stays together another year. That's got to improve everything as they progress in their growth. It usually takes a lineman, and the round bellies are my specialty when it comes to talking Vikings. The lineman, it usually takes 3 to 4 years to get it at the NFL level. Same with tight ends. When you're talking tight ends, the old saying is you're always drafting a tight end for the next team. That's generally correct for the most part. So I expect us to be better on the line. I expect us to be close to a top 5 offense, if not in the top 5, even next year. Or this year, 2023.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for coming on so much. It's been great talking to you. Got some really good insights on Patrick Peterson for everybody here. Thank you for that. Before we let you go, let everyone know where they can see any of your work and what you do.
Well, I used to be part of Climbing the Pocket, which was part of the SB Nation's Daily Norseman's team. We split up on just this Monday, which added to the workload. We have formed our own new one. I took about 2/3 of the squad. We are now Vikings First and Skol. You can find us on YouTube there. And we are also a member of Fans First Sports Network. Just got the podcast feed set up tonight. We will be dumping in podcasts over the next day. Fun. I get to load all that stuff. But we are there, and we put out stuff daily. You guys are our mentors. There is nothing like the Steelers podcasts and shows across the NFL than for total of volume and quality than the Steelers put out. And you're our goal. We didn't even come close to that. But we were glad to be part of the same team now at Fans First Sports. And we can't wait to grow with you guys together.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
And good luck this season.
Thank you.
Hey, good luck to the Vikings, too. All right. Hey, maybe we'll meet in another Super Bowl here in a year or two.
Hey.
2024.
I'd love that.
Do it.
Go Vikings.
All right. All right. Well, thank you again for coming on. We're going to take a short commercial break. And when we come back, Shannon and I will be talking about all this from the Steelers side and all the other free agencies everything going on for the Steelers. So we will be right back after this break. Oh, my nose itches. All right, welcome back, Steeler fans. It's just Shannon and I now. We talked about Patrick Peterson for the first half of the show. If you were sleeping through it, make sure you go check that out. Shannon, did that change your opinion or your thoughts on this signing at all?
Yeah, it didn't really change my opinion, but it is encouraging because we have talked that, it seems such one, he feels a need, a huge need, but it also the mentor aspect.
Yeah.
And then to hear that he takes such pride in being a team first guy and working with the younger guys in the corner room there in the secondary, when we're thinking he's coming in to be a mentor and what would hopefully will develop into the Steelers' next true cornerback one. Because I said on Monday night that if this would have been, say, 2 or 3 years ago, I would be ecstatic about getting Patrick Peterson. Now, he's not what he was, but he's still so smart, so crafty, one of the best of his era. He can get the job done. So I don't think there's been a drop-off from Sutton at all. But that mentorship that he can bring to, I think the Steelers are going to try to hit corner in the first round. I really do. And if they do that, his acquisition and his contributions to that growing process will be invaluable.
Oh, absolutely. I think we'll definitely see either 17, possibly 32. I mean, if the draft board falls weird and the cornerbacks are gone and like a Paris Johnson or one of the top guys, yeah, obviously Steelers are going to take best player. But I think you're going to see a cornerback taken early. I agree with you there. And I think it's a huge deal having a guy like Patrick Peterson on that team. I can't imagine that not being good. We saw what Minkah Fitzpatrick and Joe Hayden did.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Where all of a sudden Joe Hayden's getting 5 interceptions in a year and then 3. Patrick Peterson and Minkah Fitzpatrick, I think, have even more potential. This is just my opinion. Watching Patrick Peterson's 2022 film, I know a lot of people are saying, he's really great in zone now, not as good in man. Well, if you watch his man coverage, he's not going press man against people as much as he used to.
Mm-hmm.
He will bail back. He'll give them space. He will drop out real quick right at the snap if he thinks that route is going deeper. You do not see this man get beat deep.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't happening. 2021, 2022, he's not getting beat deep. He's not like Joe Hayden when Joe Hayden came back from injury and you're sitting there watching him going, he just can't keep up with those guys anymore. Like he had all those tricks to keep them with him and they're just not working anymore. He had lost too much. Patrick Peterson keeps up with him. And I had never realized this watching the film, how long that man's arms are, how much length he has. And he uses it. You'll see him be like out there running with something. He's got both arms stretched out. And you're like, the dude covers so much space when he does that, I think I am very excited about him being here. I think he's going to be our cornerback one. And he creates a great opportunity for the Steelers to run more man. If you're sitting there saying he's not as good at man as he used to be, well, yeah, he's not. That's true. But he instantly is the best man cover corner the Steelers have had probably since Ike Taylor, maybe. And this is a big maybe that the one season Artie Burns was starting to look good in man coverage. Maybe, Artie Burns in that year could contend. But Patrick Peterson's the best man cover guy we've had. Better than Joe Hayden. You go back to 2017 when Joe Hayden first came here. I'd take Patrick Peterson now over that Joe Hayden in man.
Oh, Peterson knows the tricks of the trade. And he knows the little jerk, little pull, jersey, the grab the elbow, just any little thing. He's crafty and he knows how to do it on the side that the ref ain't on where they can't, necessarily catch him. So, yeah, I think that's part of being a good man corner. Is if you are getting beat, can you stay close, keep contact without getting it called? And
can you get away with it?
He can do that. And I'm going to say something crazy right now because everybody knows how I feel about the Steelers picking a cornerback, especially in the first round. But I've lost my mind. But I think I trust Omar Khan and Andy Weidel and Ike Taylor, a new scout. I just got this feeling, by the guys that they're looking at and talking to, that they are going to make a better decision than they've made in the past. And they're looking for traits. Like I said, I am in no way an expert on cornerbacks, and I don't claim to be. But maybe that's why I've been so scared of the Steelers taking another one, because it's been such a long time since they've had a successful one. I mean, even Cam Sutton, he learned to play with his limitations.
Yeah.
But he had them coming in. That's why he lasted to the third round, because he had so many limitations. But he learned to play with it because he's incredibly smart. But I don't want to see the Steelers take a guy and take 3-4 years to develop him. But I actually believe in this regime and their ability to draft that guy in the first round if one of those guys falls to them, and that they will be able to develop them, not only because of Terrell Austin and the improvements he's brought to the secondary coaching coverages, but Peterson. That is something that they have not had. Yep. They didn't necessarily have with Artie Burns. To have that guy that can say, here's what you need to do, and here's how you get away with it, and so I'm actually okay, and I haven't said this in forever, with the Steelers taking a cornerback at 17.
That is, if you guys know Shannon,
that's
a big step for Shannon to take right there, because he's okay with it. I have been looking forward to, since Terrell Austin came here, because I did film rooms on the first 2 weeks of the 2019 defense. I had to watch that, when that team was just, there was no backside. There was no back end of the defense. It was just take the top off any play you wanted because it was that bad. What Terrell Austin has done on the Steelers, I think often he doesn't get much credit because of Minkah Fitzpatrick coming at the same time and how good Minkah Fitzpatrick has been. But you look at Minkah Fitzpatrick in Miami, he was good, not great.
Yeah.
Look at him since he's came here. He's been better than great. He's been fantastic. He's been elite. You look at Terrell Edmonds, what he was. I mean, it was his rookie season. He had a very closed role. They grew. You look at his growth from even the 2019 season, where his weaknesses were exposed constantly, to now, where he has become a very solid, deep zone cover guy. Even though he still can't pick off passes, you'd think you'd still throw on him, but teams don't, because he's got it locked down. You look at Steven Nelson, year before he came to the Steelers in 2018. He was giving up the most yards of any cornerback in the NFL. You look at the 2 years he was here, and you look at what he's done since.
Yeah.
Right? You look at Joe Hayden, who he was 2017, 2018, 2019. Terrell Austin shows up, changes the scheme a bit. Joe Hayden goes off. There with Minkah Fitzpatrick and him. You look at Cameron Sutton. In 2018, Cameron Sutton was nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody. 2019, you're like, whoa, this dime back is really good. Like, he's making some plays, he's interceptions, he's doing more, he's being used more. 2020 steps up again. 2021, he's a starter. This year, just got $22 million guaranteed. These guys are showing up and playing well. You look at a guy like James Pierre, right? And what he's been able to do as an afterthought in the draft, and a guy who doesn't have the athletic profile to really be an NFL cornerback, but he's making do. He's making it work, and there's times he's come in and started and been fine. I really think this is the time that this changes. That it is time we draft a cornerback, and it's going to work because you have a system in place. You have Terrell Austin, who doesn't go out and go after guys and say, okay, we're gonna draft a Justin Lane because he's big and fast, and we're gonna teach him to play cornerback. He's a guy who drafts people who know what they're doing, and he puts them into roles that fit their skills. And then he teaches them new ones. And then he's like, now let's build your repertoire beyond what you've been doing. I am excited for this. I think Patrick Peterson is a fantastic fit. I'm looking at this secondary almost like the offensive line last year when Pat Myers showed up and we added just the right kind of pieces, and by the end of the season, he's starting to come together. I think we could see that come together moment happen this season, especially when we have a youngster, especially when we have a young top end talent.
We've got to talk about these free agent signings because I'm very excited. We wanted Kazee back and we got him, and I'm more comfortable now with the safety position, but I still want Edmonds.
I just still want him to. Yep.
Yes, I'm very excited about Herbig, Nasty Nate.
Yeah,
because just watch the Steeler tape.
Oh yeah,
I mean the guy is he moves people. He's a monster, but he actually gets to the second level. At first I thought he's going to be like Ramon Foster, because he had the worst 40 time at his combine, but he figures out a way to actually reach the second level, and he's so big you can't get around him. So he's going to at least put pressure and make Dotson's seat very warm, very warm.
Yeah,
but the prayer is the inside linebacker upgrade. Yep. And looking at the way it started, you knew that Tremaine Edmonds was going to be big ticket. And then Pratt hated the Steelers. He probably was going to go back to Cincy. There were certain guys. Long said, hey, I want the tax bracket. He was going to Miami. He wanted that. He talked about taxes.
Pennsylvania is not where you're going if you're looking at taxes.
So, you started. So Van Der Esch, they made an offer supposedly, but they couldn't get that done. And you understand him wanting to stay with his team, drafting him. But I'm thinking Drew Tranquill makes too much sense.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking. If I would have thought, who does Andy Weidel know?
Yep.
Who out of that division could it be? And when I woke up this morning, I had some things I had to do. Finally got to look at my phone, and there's Cole Holcomb. Now, I remember thinking that'd be a guy to take a flyer on late in the draft that year because of his athleticism. He tested really, really 11-foot broad jump. I mean, that's explosive. But I never thought about him until I read that, and I'm like, oh, man. They went and got a guy who fits the profile. He's got the motor. He's a tackling machine. His coverage grades are not good, but he'll fit right in with the Steelers because, since he's here, they haven't had anybody who can cover anyway. Yep. But I think depending on how they use him, he was a 4-3 guy. So he'll be in a 3-4, and he can be able to cut down half of his coverage area, out of base. So I think that he will be able to, because if you watch his highlights, watch some of his game film, he's closing out on receivers and just blowing up screen passes. So he has that explosiveness and that, he's more natural than, say, Mark Robinson, who's very raw and new to the position. I'm very excited about Holcomb. I think he's a Mac. I wanted to ask you about this. To me, he's a Mac. And it doesn't change the fact that they can still look Jack Campbell in that 32nd pick and bring him in to be the buck. And, or a guy like Drew Sanders or somebody of that nature. But I just think that he needs to be the Mac in the Steelers 3-4.
All right. Well, I want to first go back to and cover Nate Herbig a little bit with this because both of these signings, I knew you would like them as soon as I went to see Herbig's film. Because and seriously, Steeler fans, if you're one of the people that looked at the old Steelers line and said, man, we need to get some intensity. We need to get guys that are mean, guys that are nasty. And they went out and got Kendrick Green, and you got to see what someone who was undersized and had poor technique, but was really, really mean and nasty looked like. And it was, he's like chewing on people's ankles as they're stepping on him, It's not the way to win in football. No. On the other side, we've got the opposite, Kevin Dotson, doesn't finish blocks, but when he's moving people, they move. Nate Herbig is a guy who he's nasty and he gets stuff done. Yeah. And so, like, you see him getting stuff done with nastiness. You see it happening. Yeah. I think he is a guy that I love him as a insurance policy on Kevin Dotson. As a backup guard, I love him. Kevin Dotson's good film is much better than Nate Herbig's good film. The problem is Nate Herbig's worst film doesn't touch how bad Kevin Dotson's bad film is. Mm-hmm. Herbig has a higher floor, lower ceiling. Kevin Dotson, we've seen him go high and low. I'm personally betting that a second year with the same offensive line coach, a year with the same center as he had last year is going to do wonders for Kevin Dotson. I think that's why they're keeping him around, is they're giving him that shot. But you know what? If it doesn't work out, or if the injury bug hits us, you're not going to be that healthy 2 years in a row where you got 4 offensive linemen that collectively miss 1 snap. That's insane. You've got this guy. I also love, I've said this about the Ravens, how their backup offensive linemen are just run blockers. I love that the Steelers got a backup offensive lineman that's a run blocker.
And Herbig can play center.
Yes, he can. Yes. But whatever you're doing, when he comes in, your run game might have just gotten better. Your pass blocking might have gotten a little worse, but your run game definitely did not. And when it comes to double teams, oh man, combo blocks, Herbig's a nightmare. He the energy, the nastiness he puts on it. You watch the Jets game, you watch the film of the line, you can see Cameron Hayward getting frustrated with this dude. Not appreciating the way the guy is getting under his arm and blocking and stuff. Yeah. Just how he blocks people. He's just nasty and mean about it. And the defensive linemen don't like it. Mm-hmm. And he had a really good game against the Steelers, which will always move you up Mike Tomlin's free agent. The linebacker is similar. He's a hustle guy. He's got that nasty to him. You'll see him engage offensive linemen. Any linebacker who engages offensive linemen regularly, you're going to see him lose a lot of those matchups just because the offensive lineman is that much bigger. But you'll see him fight. Not like a lot of the linebackers you see on the Steelers. Well, they'll lock arms with a offensive lineman and then just kind of try and look around them. Kind of just like, what's going on behind you, buddy? You know, could you move a little this way? This guy's fighting him. Yeah. If he's engaged with an offensive lineman, he may be losing that fight, but he's fighting. He's not sitting there having a stalemate, like the polite stalemate. You're blocked, and as long as you stay blocked, I can just sit here. And they're like, as long as I just stay here, he's not going to have to slam me. And, we can both just be healthy and have a nice rep here. Yeah. That's not this guy. That's not him. In coverage, he leaves a lot to be desired, but there are plays, man. There was a play against I'm just losing the name of the team now. It was against Philadelphia, I think, where he comes out in coverage and they have it perfectly lined up to just bust this coverage open. And he ends up one-on-one with a fast wide receiver, gives up a touchdown. But he's like a step behind this guy, right? Running half the field, a step behind him. I was impressed with that. Some of the other film, the first film I watched, I wasn't as impressed with. More I got into it, I think he is going to be an overall upgrade on Robert Spillane. You're going to get the effort. You're going to get the heart of a Robert Spillane kind of player, but you're going to see a little more athleticism. You're going to see a bit more nastiness, a bit more fight in him. You're going to see the same level of smarts. I think he's just an overall take Robert Spillane, take everything Spillane brought to the table, take it up a notch.
A lot more athleticism. I mean, Spillane's a 4.7 guy. This is a 4.51 guy. Well, Spillane vertical. His broad was 9.2 and Holcomb's 11 foot. One thing that really stuck out to me is there was a play against the Cowboys that they isolated. The Cowboys called the right play. They isolated Noah Brown, a wide receiver, out in the flat on a 3rd and 5. And they got him out there clean. They got him the ball. And here's Holcomb coming from his, middle linebacker. He's racing over there. He breaks down. It doesn't let, Brown get by him, and he stones him for like a 3-yard gain and created a 4th down situation. Teams did that to Bush, Jax, Spillane all the time, and it's an automatic 1st down. And so, again, he does have coverage limitations, but his athletic ability, and I'm writing an article about him right now. Something that sticks out to me, it's just like Alex Highsmith, this kid was a walk-on. None of the big schools wanted him. He walks on, and he just keeps getting better. And now, if you look at him versus when he went to college and started, and look at his physique, the work ethic is evident. The growth is evident. He's not played in a 3-4 in the NFL. Get him in there. Let him work with the guys that the Steelers are going to be working with him. The new inside linebacker coach, I can't think of his name right off the top of my head.
Curry.
Yeah, Curry. I'm really excited to see, I'm expecting solid starter. Anything above that is just icing on the cake. But the limitations, I think he has the intensity and work ethic of Spillane with more athleticism than Bush, and the intensity is better than both of them, in my opinion. I mean, he wants to hit people.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've been begging for, and I'm excited about.
My thoughts on him, we're running out of time here, so I'm going to make this quick, but he did have that injury. 2022, he had the nagging foot problems. It ended up with surgery. We still don't have the physical that clears him to play. This contract, it's not done.
We don't know the numbers, do we?
That's what?
We don't know the numbers.
No, and it's still contended on him passing a physical. Just like Larry Ogunjobi last year had that contract with the Bears, and it fell through because he couldn't pass the physical. This guy still has to pass the physical. We could still be without an inside linebacker signing here if this guy's foot hasn't healed.
Yeah.
That's the big question mark. To me, you watch the 2022 film, he doesn't look the same as he did in 2021. We've seen with Devin Bush. I kept saying it. Shannon, I was like, well, we got to wait till he's really healthy. We got to give him time to get back. And then we saw him get back, and we saw some of that athleticism return, and we saw he didn't have we saw the personality change happen, like where he's a little more timid. But this guy, if he gets back to where he was in 2021, holy crap. That's an insane signing. That's insane. If he is who he was in 2022, I think if he can get back to that, because he still had surgery. He's still got to get back from that. If he can get back to who he was in 2022, he would have been the best linebacker on the Steelers last year.
Yeah.
Straight up. Better than Miles Jack, in my opinion. Not by a lot, but better than Miles Jack, especially in coverage. I think that's what the Steelers are banking on. I think we're going to roll in Miles Jack and him, maybe someone else, maybe not. Who knows? But that's where I look at him, and I say, hopefully he gets back to that 2022 level, and he actually passes the physical, and we actually have this guy on the roster. And then after that, like you said, anything beyond that is gold. And if he ever shows up and he's the 2021 version of himself, that's incredible. That guy was incredibly productive.
Here's the question: are we going to sign Terrell Edmonds?
I want Terrell Edmonds and Bud Dupree. I want them both. I think there's still a good chance we get Edmonds. You look at what Jesse Bates got. For one of the best free safeties in the league, that contract was sad. So many people get more money than Jesse Bates, and Jesse Bates is incredible.
But they lost Bates and Bell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, Bell isn't going to be the safety you want when you don't have a Jesse Bates behind him. Yeah. Von Bell, you kind of need that guy behind him that can cover everything in the world. There's not a lot out there for safeties right now. And man, Terrell Austin gets a lot out of them. I think it's fantastic. I think an Edmonds signing is a big deal here. We got to get going. We're gonna get in trouble. Well, I think everybody, especially our guest Dave from First and Skol, fantastic having him here. That was a fantastic interview. If you missed it, make sure you check it out. If you're on our live feed right now, check it out when it comes out tomorrow. Make sure you check out his part of the show talking about Patrick Peterson. Gives you really good context, and I think this is a fantastic signing. And thanks to you, Shannon. Thanks to everyone in our live chat. Thanks to everyone who's at home listening when this comes out on podcast. Thanks for being a part of this. Make sure you're checking out the rest of the shows on the Steel Curtain Network and BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. As always, have a great week, and let's go Steelers.